All right, welcome back to Politically Homeless. I'm Dave. I've got my favorite guest back with us again. He's really the only guy who comes on the show. So, James Roguski, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Dave. I got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. It's going to be hard to keep this one short, but let's try. Let's try to get it as tight as possible and just give a bunch of information to people so they know what's going on, because you're not going to hear this stuff on the mainstream, and you're not going to hear it on most other alternative media either. So,
Yeah. All right. Well, fire away, James. The floor is
well,
yours.
we can get into a little bit of an Abbott and Costello routine if you want. Do
Who's
you
on
know,
first?
do you know who represents you at the Who?
I already know the answer to this, so I'm going to have to play along. James, I don't know who represents us at the Who.
Well, at the moment, nobody.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'll share some information here.
It's not Roger. It's not Roger Daltrey. It's not Pete
Uh,
Townsend. Well,
okay. So name that government official.
I know this guy's name. I should know it by heart, but and he runs like a big agency, and he talks a lot about how you should get boosted and stuff. But I forget his name.
Give you a clue. Shares first name with a recent dropout from the presidential race.
It's not Vivek, is it?
Well, his first name is Vivek, but it's Vivek Murthy.
Okay.
He is the currently the Surgeon General of the United States.
All right, Surgeon General.
And so I have been watching the WHO for a couple of years. And when I go to the WHO website and I look to see who is on the WHO executive board, this is what it has been saying for the last 2 years. All of the other nations have their representatives listed, but the United States, the representative has a strange name. It's called to be communicated. Okay.
To be announced.
And the reason is Biden, for the second time, because he did this a year or so ago, put Dr. Vivek Murthy's name into nominated him,
mm-hmm.
and the Democratic Senate doesn't seem to be able to confirm him. And so the executive board meeting for the WHO is right around the corner.
Right. Yeah, it's coming up.
And we don't have an official representative to represent the United States at that meeting. Well, what are they going to do at that meeting? Well, they're going to do a lot, but there's a handful of rules for someone to be a delegate to the executive board. You have to be a medical doctor. Well, Vivek Murthy's a medical doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's undergone an FBI investigation, but as the Surgeon General, I imagine he's past that.
Yeah.
I don't think he was at the Capitol on the 6th of January.
Nope.
So he has to be approved by the Senate. Now, this is the law from 1948 that says all that's up there. And so, here's the meeting where everybody signs in to register to participate at the executive board meeting. And all of the other countries, they have their people listed on the WHO website. But you can get down to the Americas.
To be communicated.
To be communicated.
Wow.
So this is an article in progress. Hopefully this video will be at the top of this article.
I noticed Ukraine had a representative.
There you go. There you go. North Korea.
Yeah.
North Korea. Okay. Dave, this is the agenda. Just, this one's a little bit important. This is about the pandemic treaty and the amendments to the international health regulations. But these are all of the things, I don't mean to make people dizzy, but these are all of the topics and all of the documents that they're going to be discussing next week at the executive board meeting. And so even if he was to get nominated in a big fat hurry, he's got a lot of reading to do.
Yeah. Okay.
And so here's my attitude about the whole thing. It's time to yell at the United States government. They, over Christmas, they buried in the Federal Register, the Office of Global Affairs, buried a public comment Um, and so worldwide public comments regarding the proposed pandemic agreement have been requested. So whether you're in the United States or anywhere, if you go to one of my latest articles on Substack, um, should be pretty easy to find because that's the image. Um, it's time to yell at them. Um, do you want amendments to the international health regulations to give the WHO, more authority over what's going on in the world? Do you want billions of dollars to be spent on essentially what I think is biological warfare? Building out laboratories and doing genetic and genomic research. Now is your time. The deadline is Monday, January 22nd at 5 p.m. Eastern. And I've already had, I don't know, what is it, 60 some people who have not only sent emails to the Office of Global Affairs, but they've posted, what they had to say in the comments in this article.
Mhm.
So it's quite entertaining. A lot of people who subscribe to my Substack are actually better writers than I am. They let it loose, and
Good.
I encourage everybody to say whatever it is they want to say. And I also encourage people, if you want, record a video saying what you want to say
Mhm.
and send the link to the video because it's just sending a simple email. I'm not going to give the email here because there's a special thing that you have to put in the subject title, and I want to make sure people do it correctly. So go to the article and get all that information. Uh, and do give yourself some therapy. Give
Yeah.
yourself some, if there's something that you want to say, let them have it. Let them have it. Tell them what you think about all these negotiations with the WHO. Now, the executive board meeting is next week, the 22nd to the 27th, but there's another separate thing going on. And the amendments that have been secretly being negotiated for the last year, the deadline for the working group to submit those final package of targeted amendments in alignment with Article 55 is Saturday, January 27th. When most people see this, it'll be just about a week away. If you watch this video afterwards, it may have come and gone. This, unlike the 22nd. The 22nd is you got to send in your comments. They will accept them after the deadline, but get them in before the deadline. And this deadline here, the 27th, is not a deadline for you or I to do anything other than spread the word to get people aware of it. This is a deadline that the working group with all these amendments told us back in October that they were going to fail to meet the deadline.
Yep.
So, what is not going to happen by January 27th is they're not going to do what they're obligated to do. And by the rules, they have to submit these 4 months before the meeting in May. This executive board meeting is a preliminary meeting to essentially lay out the agenda for the May meeting. And so we don't have a representative at this meeting, so we have apparently no say over the agenda. Way to go, United States without a captain
Yeah.
at the helm.
Right.
Um, you
Well,
know,
yeah.
what do you say?
Yeah.
I
It's
mean, just absolute incompetence in the Senate.
well, they must trust what these other countries are going to do, or they trust what the WHO is going to do, or they don't care enough. It's kind of like when the Supreme Court won't hear a case, James. They're just like, yeah, no, we're not going to get involved with this. Highly suspicious, and at the very least, a huge dereliction of duty, because we really don't want other countries, other governing boards deciding what is best for American citizens. That's just not what America, well, it's not what we used to be about, but it's moving in that direction.
So the Health and Human Services Office of Global Affairs um, put that notice into the Federal Register over the Christmas holidays. So luckily, I came to be aware of it in time for people to make public comment. But that's how they love to do things. It's when everybody's asleep. you know, all kinds of other things in the world going on. It's not like they send you an alert. You know, you don't get a Amber Alert on your phone. Hey, it's time to make a public comment.
No.
But you know, take this as an alert to speak your mind and let them all know what is going on. Um, the fact that we don't have a representative at, you know, there's, see, not every nation has a position in the executive board. It rotates. And while there are 194 nations in the WHO, there's only 34 nations on the executive board. And so it rotates. As of 2025, we're not going to necessarily be on the executive board. And while I am, you know, strongly an advocate for exiting the WHO, you know,
Mhm.
go to exitthewho.com. Since we're involved and we're, you know, under their, I don't want to say we're under their control, but you know, we're obligated to do the things that we're obligated to do and pay $1 billion a year.
Mhm.
If you're paying $1 billion a year, you might want to send somebody to the meetings to
Yeah.
oversee how that money's being spent.
Right.
And so, you know, thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you, democratically controlled Senate, for pretty much being asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
And so anybody who's watching this prior to January 22nd, check out that article and get all the information, send them an email, say whatever it is you want to say. If you show up a little bit late, they're still going to accept the thing because it's just sending it to an email. And back in April of 2022, we got, with about 6 days warning from the WHO, 33,884 people put in public comments. And in September of 2022, with about, oh, I don't know, 4 days notice maybe, we got several hundred individuals to record 90-second videos to be sent to the WHO. If you want to entertain yourself, in all seriousness, go to screwthewho.com,
Yep.
and you can watch what fellow, you know, people around the world had to say um, more than a year ago, and join in and speak up because they operate under the idea that your silence is consent.
Right.
And I, for one, absolutely do not consent. I would like to encourage people to check out thepeoplesdeclaration.com, because what they're really doing is trying to transfer wealth from wealthier nations to less wealthy nations to build out what I call the pharmaceutical hospital emergency industrial complex. I was up at 4:30 this morning watching a thing about how they're already planning new adjuvants for new pandemic vaccines for disease X.
Mm.
Okay.
I've heard
And
about
so, you know,
X. Yeah.
it's all just you know, it's a power grab, but it's a money grab to build out the fear mongering industry. They're looking for pathogens, they're bringing them into the labs, they're making vaccines for problems that don't yet exist. You know, it's sort of the preliminary to the problem reaction solution,
Yeah.
right? They want to make this. I mean, I'm really not kidding. This is called dual use research of concern. It's biological warfare, you know, techniques. Let's go find a pathogen that isn't bothering anybody. Let's. I wish I was kidding.
No.
Let's make it more dangerous. Let's make a vaccine for it and scare the crap out of people to take the vaccine for a potentially dangerous pathogen. They literally want to change the language in but the amendments would change it from an emergency that's being declared to a declaration that something has the potential to be an emergency.
Yeah.
The insanity is amazing, and so thanks for letting me share it with you and everybody else here. Um, if anybody has any questions,
Call them
don't,
up.
don't don't yell at me. Go yell at your government.
True.
Use that. But if you have any questions, if there's anything I can do to help you, give me a phone call, 310-619-3055. Everything's on jamesroguski.substack.com. Your government is asleep at the wheel. Yell as loud as you can. Maybe somebody will wake up.
Yeah. Well, James, as always, thanks for being here and keep us up to date.
I will certainly try. Thanks, Dave.